This conference will now be recorded.
So in our previous class, we're discussing about decision rules, right? So ultimately the purpose of decision rules is to apply some conditions only. Okay, we can able to go for either when conditions or these kind of conditions. If you want to go something like specific values to be obtained, then we go for this condition rules. So sorry, decision rules. With this decision rules, we can able to make use of decision tree or decision table, map value, fork, or Boolean expression, anything. So of all which decision table and tree will be most widely used. Okay, map value and something some other rules will be these are something like deprecated, so mostly we used to use in the version number 6 and 7. So now latest we are using for the decision table and tree only, and we can able to call these decision rules from many places. So we can able to call this decision table or decision tree from decision shape, or we can able to call it from activities using property map, decision table or decision tree, or we can able to call this from another decision rules also, or we can able to call this using an declare expression using the functions. So these all things we have discussed. And with the decision table, we will be having all the functions defined, sorry, all the conditions defined with if, else if, and otherwise only. Okay, and each and every condition should be having the same number of properties. So for the first condition, you will be having 3 properties if defined in the table, and for the second condition also you should be having the same set of properties. If you want to go for a combination of different conditions with different number of properties, that will not be possible with decision table. So in that kind of scenarios, we'll be going for decision tree. Okay, so for the complex queries, we'll be going for tree rule, and for the simple things, we'll be going for table, decision table. And we can able to call this decision table or tree from many places. Okay, and for the decision table, there will be expression builder, and for the decision tree, there will not be any expression builder. If there is no expression builder, I cannot able to make use of the functions. If there are no functions, how can I call the another decision rules into this? Okay, so that will be by selecting one option in the decision tree. So these are all the things we have discussed. Okay, now we'll discuss about decision tree. So before that, let us work on one requirement. So our requirement here is I'll be making few modifications to the policy section. So within this policy section, I'll be adding something like a policy type. So user can able to go for policy type selection as either premium or basic. So we can able to go for one radio button or the drop down values. So in the drop down, we user can able to go for either premium or basic. So if he's going for premium, I have to display him one section. If he's going for basic, then I have to show him another section. Okay, so soon after this policy details section, so we have to make this work object to be in a position to identify which section has to be picked up. So it has to take one decision. It has to be going to the premium billing section or the basic details section. So this kind of decision has to be taken. So we can able to do this with either decision table or decision tree. We can able to call it from the decision shape also. Okay, we'll be working on this now. So if we just see in the case types, there will be many flows created. So there will be something like a policy flow. And here we are trying to have one section. So within this section, I want to have one more selection like plan type. So plan type, below this, we can able to have one drop down or radio button like plan type. So user can able to go for either premium billing or basic thing. So if he's selecting basic, on clicking on submit button in the runtime, I have to show him one section. And for the premium billing people, I have to show them another section. Okay, so soon after this flow action submission in the flow, I have to put one decision shape. So within this decision shape, based on the plan type, okay, one work object has to be redirected. It has to be directed to premium billing section if we're selecting premium here, else it has to be redirected to basic section. Okay, so this decision can be taken using decision shape, and within this we can able to have other decision rules. So now we'll be working with decision tree, and there we'll be identifying will be providing the conditions, and based on the decision tree will be returning one value, and based on the written value decision shape has to be taking some action in which way the work object should be moving. Okay, so this is our requirement. Okay, so let me add Let me check out this. Let me add one radio button here, like selection for the premium or the basic. And we have to create one property for that. We have to create one radio button property for policy plan type. So we have already created one data class including for all the policy details, like policy start date, policy tenure, policy end date. So these are all the details related to policy, right? And we are maintaining everything in one data class. So let me create the same property in the existing data class and let me make use of that. So let me know if you did not understand the requirement. Clear now, both of you?
Yes, Chandra.
Yeah. So here we have already created few properties. Now let me create one more property, that is policy plan type, and it should be of a radio button or drop down. I'm selecting something like policy plan type. So I want to go it for a radio button. So it can be either premium. So did I tell you how to use the prompt list, or we shall use it now here? So I'm saving this. So let me open this property and let me go for prompt values. So ultimately, whatever the thing we are defining here, it has to be displayed with the premium value and the basic value only. But for the processing, it might be different. So that is the thing we are going for prompt. So prompt value, that is like in the user interface, I want to show something like premium in one as one of the value in the drop down, and the next thing is basic. Okay, for premium I can able to go for plan type as P, and for this I can able to go for B, something, anything, whatever thing you want to do, you can do. If user is selecting premium in the drop down, for the in the clipboard it will be stored as in P here. Okay, I'm saving it. So I have created one property in this data class, and I have already created one page into this existing worker class, right? So let me make use of that. So let me take one empty dynamic layout. Let me put some heading. Lot of going for radio buttons. No? Let me take the radio buttons. So identify the page what we have already created. I think this is the page, and select the property. So policy plan type. Automatically we should be getting the properties. Okay. And if we want to go for segmented also, we can able to do that. Let me save this. So we have made modifications to the section, and this section has to be included. So this will be already included in the full action, right? Okay, let me open. So this is my existing flow. We can able to make modifications in the case type flow, or we can able to make it in the normal flow also. Ultimately, output will be same. Why? Because the sections or the flow actions what we are trying to create now, it will be created in the work class. Okay, we can able to run the flow from here, or like an its child class also, case type also. So from wherever we're running the flow, ultimately it will be using the main flow actions created in the framework per class only. So let me make few modifications to this. So after the user entering these values here, so the section what we made modifications here will be here. So after we clicking on submit button of the screen, after selecting premium, clicking on submit button, so as per the next flow it will be coming. So if there is no flow, it will be returning to the end shape. Okay, and if there is any flow, it will be going to the next one. But before that, I want to make some modifications Soon after the selection value, like the premium or basic, I have to take one decision, and with that decision, I have to show the corresponding section. Okay, so let me take one decision shape. So I'm trying to take one decision shape. So soon after the submitting of this particular flow action, one decision has to be taken. So what should be the decision? I might be showing him premium section or the billing section. Let me take two assignments. So I'm trying to take one assignment here, and okay, so I'm trying to take something like this. So as soon as we click on submit button in this flow action, so it should be going to in this way, or it might be going in this way. If there is no value selected, or if you want to make anything like an exit option, we can able to select this. Okay, so we have to provide the flow actions at the end of this assignment shape, and after that I have to close the work object ID. So that is my requirement. Okay, so let me create the section for the premium billing as well as the basic plan. So this might be something like a premium, and this is something like an basic plan. So let me create the section for the premium billing as well as the basic billing. So double click. So it will be asking us to create the flow action, create some flow action, some like premium premium plan section, something premium plan flow action. Okay, so open it directly from here, it should be creating. So let me create it in the framework work class. It will be useful everywhere. So let me create one section. So create and open. So here we whatever the thing we want to display in the premium, we can able to do that. So for the testing purpose, I'm just giving dummy value like premium. So in order to just check whether we are redirecting it to the correct thing or not. Okay, submit this and save. So we have created one section, and we have created one flow action. Submit. So let me give some heading also, it will be easy for us. So I'm giving some name for the flow action, that's it. So now let me create one more section for the basic plan. So for testing purpose, let me put some dummy label name like basic. So once it is getting redirected, we can able to make modifications. So section is created, flow action is created. So now let me save this as well. So give some name here, basic. Okay, so we have created a section for the premium as well as the section for basic. Now after clicking on submit here, it has to take one decision. So decision shape has to be given with one rule. So it has to be given with one decision rule. It might be the decision table, tree, map, fork, or anything. So let me select here, and by default it will be having like a fork. So if I want to go for the fork decision, I need not create any rule. So simply just click on submit, that's it. So by default it will be having fork only. And now how PRPC will be deciding which direction has to go. So if I'm trying to go for fork, the connectors are to be given with some when conditions. So create some when condition and identify like if policy plan type is equal to. So if policy plan type is equal to basic, then you can able to have this when condition true. Okay, so if the policy plan type is equal to premium, you can able to go this way, and if it is like in basic, you can able to define it here. So ultimately, whenever we are using for for, it has to be defined with the when conditions only. Okay, so if I want to go for decision table or decision tree or map values, we have to create the separate rules. If I'm trying to go for decision table, it will be asking us to select the rule name. Okay, if you want to go for decision tree, even then it will be asking for the rule name. Okay, so we can able to implement the same using decision table also, or fork map, anything. So let me show you how to create one decision tree from here. So let me create one decision tree. Decision tree. Open it from here. It should be created. So let me create it in the framework. Create and open. Okay, so this is how decision tree rule looking like. So here we can able to go for multiple conditions. So for each and every condition we can able to go for multiple properties. So this kind of logic can be done only in this decision tree. In decision table it will be looking like a table. For each and every condition it has to be defined with, it has to be checked with the set properties. For the first condition, if I'm defining with three properties, and for the second condition also it will be like for three properties only. For each and every condition there should be checked with the fixed number of properties, but here everything will be in the tree structure. Okay, so for the first condition I can able to go for one condition. In the second condition I can able to just check for the three conditions, or in the third condition I can able to go for four conditions. And if the fourth condition is true, then if you want to call another decision table or decision tree, or if you want to still continue with nested if conditions, or if you want to return the value to the previous rule, everything can be done here. Okay, so in order to make in order to add any conditions here, you have to click. So this will be the first if condition. So within this first if condition, if you want to add one condition, we can able to do that. And if you want to add multiple if condition, multiple conditions also, it is possible. So here in our requirement, what we have to do, we have to just to check for the policy plan type. So in order to populate, you save this. So if policy plan type is equal to, you should not be selecting it like in premium or billing. So policy plan type should be, if it is premium, I want to redirect to one section. If it is billing, it has to be redirected to another section, right? But this value here should not be compared with premium or billing. Since we are going for prompt values, whatever the value we select for the premium, we will be getting P selected in the clipboard. So that has to be given in the here. That has to be given for the processing here. You can able to give in the codes or not required. It's up to you. Okay, so if I want to if I want to take any decision, I'll be using one decision shape, and within that it will be running one decision tree, and here it will be just checking in the clipboard whether policy plan type is P. Then I want to return. Okay, if you want to return, it will be returning back. If it is getting true, it will be return the value. If it is failing, then you can able to go for some other thing also. Okay, so if this is true, if you want to return, you can able to do this, or if you want to still continue with another if conditions, you can able to go like here. So just click on continue. One more if condition will be created. Okay, likewise. So I don't want to return, sorry, I don't want to continue, I want to return the value. So what should be the return value? You can able to define anything. You can able to define the return values as hard coded or the property reference values, right? I'm giving something like premium. So don't confuse this value, this is just an hard coded dummy value. Okay, if policy plan type is equal to P, I want to immediately return to the previous calling, that is like a decision shape, and their decision shape will be moving the work object ID to the necessary path. Okay, suppose if the plan type is basic, let me add one more condition. So the plan type is basic, then I want to return immediately to the previous decision shape. Here I'm trying to give some hard code values. Else, if the customer is not going for premium or billing, then I want to exit him. So you can able to handle this in the exceptional. So I'm saving it. So let me call this decision tree in the decision table. Okay, so this is the decision table, right? I'm clicking on submit. So during runtime, what it will be doing? So it will be executing this particular flow action. So whatever the actions we are trying to take there, like if you're selecting premium or sometimes selecting premium or basic or clicking on submit button, PRPC has to take one decision by running this decision shape. It has to run one decision tree in between. So it will be picking up the value from the clipboard and it will be comparing policy plan type as P or B. Okay, and if it is not having any value, it will be having like an exit. So this will be the otherwise condition, right? If it is having P, then it has to go this way, and if it is having B, this has to go in this way. So where are we defining the P path and B path here? So it has to be defined in the connector path. So just double click on the connector. Here we have to select the result. So the result might be either premium or basic or exit. So the output of this decision tree will be either premium, basic or exit only, right? So these will be considered as in results. Based on the results, we have to define the connector, and based on this, necessary action will be taken. So I have to define the result here. So in the personal edition, we have one issue here. So if I just select the result, I should be having one drop down to select the result value, but we are not getting it. So for that, click on else and then select the result again. Then we'll be getting the result value to be selected. Okay. So click on down arrow. We'll be getting all these three values what we have defined there. If I want to have this connector to be having like an premium, so if I just select this, what PRPC will be doing? Okay, so based on this decision shape, if the value, if the plan type is equal to P, it should be redirecting to this way. Okay, here you can able to give the name also just for understanding. So if it is premium, it has to come this way and it has to run this flow action and it has to close the work object. And if it is basic, if you are not defining it here, it will not be coming this way. So if it is basic, so just to change this to else and come back to result again. We'll be getting the result text box. And now I want to go for basic. If I select the basic, meaning decision shape is returning the value like B. If it is B, then I have to have this particular thing executed. This will be executing this one. Okay. So for the otherwise conditions, we can able to have this. I can able to go for exit. So it will be directly taking us to the end shape. Put the draft off and save it. Okay. So let me create the new work object ID. So another advantage with this case type is you need not go to the last step by completing each and every flow action. We can directly jump to the particular stage. For that, go to Actions tab. There will be one option called Change Stage. So if I just click on this, it will be asking us to select the stage name. Okay. So here I want to choose my particular stage. So use this and go to Policy Stage directly. So click on Submit. Then it will be directly jumping to that particular stage. Okay. Whereas if you're trying to have this flow rule executed in the normal traditional way, we will not be having these options. We will not be having this navigation tool. I mean, the breadcrumb will not be having this change stage in the actions tab. So this is one of the advantage. Now user is selecting for premium. Now if I click on submit, it is taking me to the premium section. Okay. So on clicking on submit button in this flow action, decision table will be executed and it will be executing one decision rule, that is decision tree here. So decision tree has to just check from the clipboard whether policy type is either P or B. If it is P, it will be going this way. If it is B, it has to go in this way. Okay. Let me create new work object ID and select the basic now. So I'm selecting basic. So if I'm not selecting anything, clicking on submit, it has to directly go to the end shape. So I'm clicking on submit now. So it is redirecting me to basic thing. Okay. So during runtime, PRPC has to take one decision based on this decision rule. So in this way, we can able to call this decision table or decision tree from this decision shape. And if we are going for fork, we need not create any rule. So we have to create 3 when conditions or 2 when conditions as per your business requirement. Okay, we have to create those many when conditions, and we have to define those conditions when conditions in the connectors. So if that connector when condition is true, it will be having that executed. If another connector is true, it will be executed. It will be redirected to that path. Okay. So clear? Any doubts? Tulani,
No, Chanda. Yeah.
clear, right? Tulani also?
Clear, Chandra, but one thing, when you're selecting, when we select a decision shape, under the like category types, there are another 2 rows, like in the bottom, like
Where? I didn't get you. In the decision tree you're talking about?
no, when we are selecting a decision shape in the here,
This one. Okay.
yeah, the
Hmm.
types,
Okay.
decision
Okay. Okay.
here, we have predictive model and scorecard model. Those
Okay.
are
This will not be mostly used. Even the Boolean expression, fork, map values, these will not be mostly used. We'll be mostly using with decision table and tree only. And sometimes we'll be going for fork and map value. We used to use it in the version number 5 and 6 mostly. Okay.
okay.
Out of which these are very, very important.
Okay.
Okay. So clear, right? So in this way, we can able to make use of decision table or decision tree, and we can able to call it from many places. And once the premium section has been selected, if we want to show anything, we can define it here. And if we want to make any modifications in the basic, we can able to define it here. And let us work on one more thing like table layout. Okay. So within this premium billing section, I should be allowing the user to go for I should be allowing the user to select for multiple dependents. Okay. But for the basic, we will not be giving this option, let us say. So if the member is like in premium for us, we will be allowing him to have this policy availed for multiple multiple relationships like his parents, his in-laws, or his children, or his spouse, likewise. But for the dependent, sorry, but for the basic, will be just covering only for himself. So that is the thing. Okay. So in the premium section, let me add something like an table layout using which we can able to have multiple dependents added. Okay. So he can able to have like multiple many dependents, right? So for that, what I have to do, I have to create one layout kind of thing where I should be having his first name, last name, age, and gender. Okay. And he can able to go for 1 member or 2 member or 3 members also. So likewise, so in that case, I cannot able to have fixed number of text boxes. For the first name, if I just want the user to enter only 1% detail, then what I can able to do, I'll be just creating one set of text boxes, one text box for first name, last name, and other things. And if I want to allow him only for 2 members, then I will be putting like 2 rows of the text boxes. And here in this case, we can able to allow him to enter multiple dependent values where the text box count might be, the rows of the text box might be infinity. Okay, in that case, we'll be going for decision table layouts. You can able to see the same here also. So here we can able to see this will be something like a table layout. If I just click on add field, one new text box will be coming. So the one new row will be inserted. We can able to add these things here. If you want to delete, we can able to delete that. And if we want to add multiple things also, it is possible. Okay. So this is something like a table layout. This will be useful. And here we'll be implementing the same. Okay. And what are all the values? Suppose he's entering for 4 dependents, one for his mother, father, mother-in-law, and father-in-law, and how these values to be stored into clipboard for the processing, how these values will be stored. So that is important. Okay, each and every record has to be considered as a one page. This is already known. Now, if I'm trying to go for 4 dependents, meaning it will be inserted like in 4 records. So it should be considered as in 4 different pages. So if I want to have this table layout to be constructed, I have to go for an one page list. Okay, I should not be creating a single property. I should be creating one page list. So we have already discussed what is page list. Page list is nothing but a collection of pages. So when we're working with OBJ browse or report definition or data pages, we'll be getting multiple instances from the data class. There, each and every record is to be considered as in one page. If you want to get the multiple records, it will be having it like an page list. PX results is one OOTB page list, right? So it will be having one multiple page list. And here also if I'm trying to go for 4 or 5 dependents, for sure I should be having it like in 4 or 5 records. So each person value, each person first name, last name, all these values are to be considered as in one record. So it should be considered as one page. So whenever we're working with table layouts, there should be one page list created. Okay, so the page list should be considered as an input to this table layout. Clear? This is just similar to one of the dynamic layouts only, and here we should be giving a source to this value, source to this layout. The source should be either a page list, where we'll be having the collection of pages. Each and every page will be considered as in one record. In one record, I can able to have multiple properties. So this is the thing. And for the basic, I should not be allowing the user to go for multiple dependent selections. And for the premium only, I want to go for. So let me create one table layout. There he can able to add multiple records with for multiple dependent values. Okay. So before that, as I told you, for the table layout, the input should be page list. So let me create one page list and let me give that as a source to the table layout, and let me insert all the values and how it will be stored in the clipboard. We'll see all this. Okay. Let me make modifications to the premium billing section. So in order to make use of the table layout, just click on this and there will be something like an table layout. So make use of this. You can delete the first dynamic layout, and this is what it will be looking like. So if I just open this layout formats, it will be asking for the property type. It should be either page list or page group. It should not be single value property. So let me create one page list now. So here I want to include the properties like first name, last name, age, and mobile number or gender. So these fields seems to be very generic. That is the reason we have created the same properties in one of the data class, and I can able to make use of these properties from the data class by creating one new page. Okay, so let me create one new page now, referring to the existing data class, and that should be of page list format. Okay, and that should be given as input here. Okay, I'm trying to create one new page. I mean the page list. I'm giving something like dependent. Page list. Create and open. So it should be of page list format, and this should be referring to one existing data class. Okay, I'm saving it. Now let me make use of this page list as an source, as an input to this existing thing. So open this layout format, and here you have to select the property. Okay, so submit. So we have defined this table with some input, okay, with some class, and here we have to add the necessary headings, that is like first name, last name, age, and the necessary controls. Okay, so first the top thing, the middle part is responsible for showing all these things. This will be just having like a controls for adding or deleting the record, and this bottom thing we can able to make use for any other things like links or anything. Okay, so here by default we'll be having only one column. So right click here and click on insert column to the left. Again do the same. How many records you want, you can able to do for those many times. Okay, so these are just 10 labels. We can able to give the hard coded values. I want to show something like first name. So here we should be putting the controls. The control might be the text box, radio button, or anything, right? So let me put the control. So double click here. Automatically we should be getting the properties from that particular data class. Okay. So I want to give the first name as the as the text input here. And for this, we can able to go for last name. And able to go for age. Submit this. Okay. If you want to have this change to be segmented also, you can able to do that. Okay. For that we have to take the direct control. So I'm saving it. Now let me run the work object ID. So go to that path direct, change the stage and go to policy details directly. Here I'm trying to go for premium billing and click on submit. So we will be getting this table layout visible like this. Okay. Here we can able to add number of fields here, and we can able to delete it. So click on add item. This is completely overtipping, add and deleting. So this will not be any there will not be any modifications allowed by default. For that, what we have to do is we have to make this to be edited in the runtime. So let me open it here. And there under operations there will be something like row editing. Okay, so you have to make it editable. So click on submit. So click on add item. We should be getting all the text, all the controls. So add something like sample one. Okay, so if he's going for one dependent, we can able to pull it. Similarly, he can able to add another item also. So if I want to delete, just select the record and click on delete. It will be deleted automatically. So click on submit. So if I just click on submit, open the clipboard and just check how the format is. So go to pivot page, and there should be one page created. So this is the page list, right? So here we'll be having two records. So each and every record will be considered as one page. So this is the page list which will be having the collection of pages, and here we will be having everything with the indexed form. That is like index 1, this is index of 2. When we're working with page group, there will not be any indexing. Okay, when we're working with page group, we'll discuss the difference between page list and page group. Okay, so if I just go with multiple records, those many pages are to be created. So this is the importance of page list. Okay, so based on this we can able to redirect to the corresponding premium or billing section, and the corresponding details will be loaded. Clear? Any doubts? So clear, right?
Yes.
So in order to make this requirement, So just to have one decision taken, just to have one decision taken after this premium or basic plan section and show the premium. So in order to have this to be implemented, we need not go for this much of setup. Instead, we can go for one concept called circumstance. Okay, so using the circumstance concept, what we can able to do is we can able to avoid all these things. We can able to go for multiple flow actions, or we can able to go for decision shape, or we can able to avoid multiple flow actions. We can able to avoid decision shapes, or we can able to avoid the decision tree also. So there will be very simple thing where we can able to go with one more concept called circumstance. If I go for circumstance, so decisions will be taken very easily, where we can able to avoid these kind of things. Okay, so based on the business thing, so based on the business requirement, we have to go for either decision rules or the circumstance values. Now let me tell you what is circumstance and how can we achieve the same. Okay, so there is one concept called circumstancing. So circumstancing meaning applying some conditions based on the situation. Okay, so based on the circumstance, based on the situation, if you want to take some decisions or if you want to apply some conditions, we will be having like in circumstance of that particular rule. So what is circumstancing here? Let me tell that. So in order to achieve this, that will be very easy. So let me open any of the rule. So let me open any of the activity rule or anything. So if I want to save as this, okay, so this is the version number 1. If I want to save as this into the same version, so this is locked. Let me save as this into my latest version, that is second version. So what I did, I have just to save as the rule into my latest version. Suppose if I want to save as this into the same version with the same name with the same class, is that possible? I can able to save as this rule with within same class with the same name, but not in the same version. We can able to see within the same version. I cannot able to do. If I just try to save as this, so I'm trying to save as this. So I'm trying to create it in the same version with the same class with the same name, create and open. So it will be showing some error. Okay, meaning there should be only one instance with all these three combination. We can able to have class name different, or we can able to go for ID name different, or we can able to have this version number different at least. Then only this will be considered as a unique instance. Okay, suppose if I want to have this to be created in another way with the same name, with the same class, with the same version, then we can able to go for circumstance. Instead of save as in this, just select this one, specialize by circumstance. If I just select this, so it will be showing us this, some other extra details here like circumstance or something. So let me select some property, select the second radio button and give some property name. Okay, I'm creating it out. So what we can able to see here, so if I just compare these two rules, I can able to see class name is same, ID is same, and the version is also same. You can able to compare here. Okay, so if I'm directly going for save as in this, all these three should not match. Anyone should be different. But if I'm trying to go for circumstancing, then I can able to have the same kind of rule created with all these three matching also. Okay, so the thing here is, if I'm trying to go for circumstancing, it will be just executed only in the specific time. What will be the specific time? If the gender is equal to male only. Okay, if I'm trying to circumstance any rule, it will be asking us to select the condition. So if the condition is meeting, this rule will be executed. If that condition is not meeting, the first rule will be executed. Okay, so this will be considered as a base rule, this will be considered as a circumstance rule. Here we can able to see, so this will be circumstanced. If I just click on this, I can able to see the condition. So this rule will be executed only if property is equal to male, and this rule will be executed all the time. Why? Because there is no condition defined. If I refresh this and just check for the instances here, So for test 1 we can able to see one arrow. If I just expand this, I can able to see one test 1 rule is there as a base rule, and next one is like a gender is equal to male. So this will be considered as a base rule, and this will be considered as a circumstance rule. So during runtime, PRPC has to just check for the condition, and it has to be in a position to decide which instance has to be picked up. Suppose if I'm trying to call this test1 activity into another activity like test2. So if I'm trying to call it here, okay, it is directly taking up the test1. It is not asking me to select for either base rule or the circumstance rule. Okay, but during runtime, PRPC has to be in a position to pick either this rule or this rule. So we cannot able to go for selection of this one specific here. Okay, so wherever we are calling any rule, we have to just select with the rule ID only. So during runtime, PRPC will be deciding which rule has to be picked up, either circumstance rule or the base rule. For one rule, I can able to have multiple circumstances or multiple conditions. So if I want to have this particular activity to be executed in one situation, okay, and if the same activity is to be executed in this different situation, I can able to make use of the same activity. Suppose if I want to have this activity to be executed as in two different ways, okay, then what we have to do, we have to, no option for us, we have to create two different activities. Okay, instead of we doing that, what we can able to do is we can able to create the same kind of instance. Okay, so same kind of instance, based on the condition, we can able to have either this will be picked or this will be picked up. So this will be very useful if you're writing some any code generic. Suppose if I want to apply my service, my instance service only for the north value or only for the south value. Okay, based on the north value, we will be having some offers changed. Based on the south value, some other offers will be applicable. Okay, during runtime, so during design time, I will not be having two different way of designing. For the north, if I'm trying to go for one activity, and within that activity another things will be going, so those will be completely diverted, meaning design wise we should be having completely opposite way. Okay, for the north region I have to design my flow rules in one way, and for the south region I have to design in another way. Instead, if I just call one generic activity and have this activity called as in both north value as in the region value, sorry, south value, during runtime PRPC will be deciding which activity has to be picked up. Okay, so this will be very useful. So the example what we're discussing earlier, even for that also we can able to have one flow action created with the circumstance. Okay, if the policy type is equal to premium, I'll be showing one flow action. If the policy type is equal to billing, I'll be showing another flow action. Okay, here we can able to avoid the decision shape, we can able to avoid the decision tree, everything can be avoided. Clear? So during runtime, PRPC has to pick the corresponding rule. So if the conditions are not meeting, suppose if I have this particular test1 activity with 10 different conditions, if all the 10 conditions are not meeting, PRPC has to pick the base rule only. Okay, if you're trying to call this activity, it has to pick up the base rule. If any one of the condition is meeting, it will be picking up its corresponding circumstance rule. Okay, we can able to have the separate coding in as per the design. Okay, as per the condition, if you want to change the design, you can able to design in that particular rule. Clear as of now? So this is the concept of circumstancing, and based on the property value and based on its corresponding value, we can based on the property name and based on the corresponding value, we can able to circumstance it. Okay, we can able to circumstance any of the rule. We can able to circumstance flow action, activities or anything, except for the properties and the classes and the rule sets. We can able to circumstance everything. For the properties, we cannot able to circumstance. Why? Because any of the rule that is to be circumstanced, it has to be decided based on the property value only. So property value should be unique all the time. So I cannot able to circumstance any of the property rules. You can just check here also. So let me open any property. It will not be having like specialized with circumstance. Okay. So for the properties, for the classes, and for the rule sets, we will not be having circumstance applicable. Okay, for rest of the rules we can able to circumstance based on the conditions and the situations. So likewise, we can able to circumstance n number of rules. Okay, n number of activities, that is like n number of test one activities can be created based on n number of situations. And if we want to have one circumstance rule to be executed for multiple conditions, even then it is possible. Suppose if I just want to run one activity, okay, and that activity will be having two versions, that is like base version and the circumstance version, and the circumstance version has to be executed if I'm having three values to be fulfilled. The male, if the gender is equal to male, and if age is equal to 20 to 30, and if he's like a previous customer. If these three conditions are meeting, I want to give him some extra benefits. For that, I will have to run one extra activity or new activity. So in that case, what we'll be doing, we will be creating one circumstance rule, and there we'll be selecting the multiple options, multiple properties. And what are the thing we have just discussed will be considered as a single property circumstance. So I'm trying to save as this. If I just click on the property and date, we can able to have only one property selected at a time. So can we go for multiple properties here? If the gender is equal to male only, if the gender is equal to male only, we will be having this condition true, and the circumstance rule will be executed. Suppose if I want to have the circumstance rule to be executed for multiple conditions, then you have to go for this option, template option. Okay. So if any of the circumstance rule created with this template option, this will be considered as a multiple property circumstancing, and this will be considered as a single property circumstancing. If I select this, I should be selecting the property and its corresponding value. So if the property is matched with this value from the clipboard during runtime, this version of the circumstance will be picked up. And here we can able to define the time range also. Okay. Okay, here we can able to define the time range also. We can able to define the date property here for the time range, or we can able to define the start date and end date. Okay, if the system date is between these two, then the circumstance rule will be applicable. Okay. So if I give the start date as today and end date as next month by this time, okay, and if I'm giving some condition like if gender is equal to male, if any of the work object ID is created now with gender is equal to male and the system date is between start date and end date, then PRPC has to pick this version, pick this circumstance version, that is test 2. Okay. If the end date is breached, okay, if the system date is crossing the end date, and if we're trying to run the work object ID now, even though if the condition is meeting, even though if the property is equal to male, but it's crossing the end date, then the circumstance rule will not be applicable. So the circumstance rule will not be applicable and will not be executing this. By default, PRPC has to pick up the latest version, sorry, base version only. And if at all, if you want to go for multiple property, circumstancing, then multiple property circumstancing, we have to select this template. So if I go for selecting this template, we have to create one separate template rule, as well as we have to create one separate definition rule. Within this definition rule, we have to create the multiple properties. Let me show you. So these rules can be, a template and the definition. So these two are the separate rules that are to be created, and these will be created under technical category. So let me open any of the instances. So this will be created under the technical category. We can able to see some circumstance definition as well as circumstance template. These two will be the separate rules. So if I just open this, open any of the instance, open decision tape, circumstance template also, open anything. Here we should be defining the properties. So earlier when we are going with single property instancing, we should be selecting the property name there and its corresponding value. But here if we want to go for multiple instancing, we have to create one circumstance template rule where we have to define those many properties. Okay, and all these properties are to be defined in the definition rule. We can able to see. So here all the conditions will be defined, and there all the properties will be defined. So if the property is, if the property is true or not, based on this, it will be decided. So for multiple properties, we can able to define in the circumstance template, and when creating the circumstance definition, it will be asking us to select the template rule. So whatever the template rule we are creating, we have to select it when creating with the circumstance definition. So this definition rule will be linked to that template rule, and we have to provide both the things here. So this will not be widely used. So single property circumstance will be used mostly, and even that can be decided with some time frame. So this is not the mandatory. These first two fields are mandatory, and this is not a mandatory. If we define it here based on the system date, so the circumstance rule has to be picked or not will be decided. Even if the condition is true, if it is reaching the time, if it is out of the time, then that rule will not be picked up. So this is the concept of circumstancing. So the thing what we can able to do, we can able to avoid all the creation of decision table and its corresponding tree and its corresponding assignment shapes. Okay, in this kind of example. So based on the business requirement, we'll be going for the circumstancing or we'll be going for a decision tree or tables. Clear? Any doubts? Fulani, Uma? And in the next class, we'll try to implement the same. We'll be trying to implement the same functionality like basic or the premium selection using the circumstance. Clear?
Yeah, clear. Clear,
Fulani,
Chandra.